I'd like to welcome everybody here to a commission meeting this morning. It's a beautiful day out there, and we hope you enjoy your time here. To start out with, Dennis Aldridge has willingly consented to give us a prayer, and after that I'll leave us in a pledge.
Father in heaven, we're indeed grateful this day for the opportunities that we have. We're grateful for this beautiful day. We're grateful for our opportunity to live in this great country, this great county, and these great cities, and the opportunity to grow and develop, learn, and enjoy life in these valleys. We're grateful for our opportunities also to participate in this government issue today, that we have that right to participate openly and freely and partake of our rights and privileges as citizens of this great area. We ask thy blessings upon us this day, Father, that the business that takes place today will be done respectfully and with integrity and honesty, that the leaders will have the intelligence and the spirit to help them with the wisdom as they make decisions and go about the business of the day. We also ask thee to bless those in harm's way throughout the world in uniform that live and fight and sacrifice and even die so that we may maintain these sacred privileges that we have in this country. We ask thee to bless them, and also all who are first responders and wear the uniforms and help protect us and keep us safe in spite of ourselves, and to respond. We're grateful for all that we have here. Again, we're grateful for this opportunity that we have to participate in government and in these proceedings. And ask thee to be with us at this time in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Dennis. That was great. Okay, please stand. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first item of business is the approval of the minutes of May 14th, 2024. And I know that Clerk Rowley has a lot of things she would like to add, so we'll let her go first.
So on line 28, the discussion possible approval of the FY24 core contract was put on the agenda wrong. It should have been FY24-25. So to change that on 28, 29, and 30, and 31. And that was on page 2, sorry. And then page 3, number 45 is a craft making business. And then on line 49, later it was discovered that the sales and use tax ID number was for Orange City, not Millard County. So once that's updated, the license will be issued. I contacted the owner and the applicant, and she's going to update that. And then line 58, it is administrative office of the courts for delegated email access for the justice court. And on page 4, you want me to just go through all mine, or do you guys have any changes on those pages as well? No. You guys? Okay. Page 4, line 88, after needs a truck, I would just add for his position in tourism. It sounds like he just needs a truck. And then page 5, I just reworded this a little bit to make it less wordy. So I changed it to say on line 133, Attorney Finlinson said that he researched the bylaws of the Millard County Rehabilitation Board and the proper process for appointing members. He said that the commission would just approve the board's recommendation, but he explained that. business, line 146, I had HR, Director Nielsen, and then I just reworded that whole thing to say HR Director Nielsen explained that multiple options have been explored to find the most viable way to create a sustainable EMT program for present and future, including long-term and short-term options. And then page 7, 173, I just added after information and no report. I can't read them. I will report and will report next meeting. Oh, sorry, on 173, some vacancies, and then I answered, but she did not receive names of anyone interested in serving. She has reached out to the Secretary for information. I'll report at the next meeting. Besides from the changes, that's all I have.
Okay. Anybody else have any changes?
We're done.
Okay, I think we're good then.
Could we approve the minutes with the changes?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the changes in the minutes and approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that passes. Okay, on the 1005 item, it says opening and possible awarding for the construction of the Millard County EWP 2023 spring site and water crossing.
So Devin's going to read the bids.
Devin Shields with Sunrise. So again, this is the bid opening and possible awarding for the construction of the Millard County Emergency Watershed Protection Project 2023, the spring site and the low water crossing. It looks like we've got 4 sealed bids from contractors. The first one we've got here is Perco Rock Co. Total bid amount is $728,154. That's $728,154 for Perco Rock. Next one we have is from Patriot Construction, LLC. Total bid amount is $848,679. So that's $848,679. Third one we have here is from Trapp Construction.
What was that name again?
Trapp Construction,
Okay, thank you.
T-R-A-P-P. Total bid amount is $694,314. So $694,314. Last one is from Black Rock Pro Concrete. Total bid amount is $399,975. That's $399,975. $975. So with that, the apparent low bid is Black Rock Pro Concrete at that $399,975. We've got it on the agenda as a possible action for the commission to award the project. What we would recommend is that the commission award the project to the apparent low bid contingent upon checking the requirements of the bid and references and checking off a few of the other boxes that we need to do.
A question for Pat. The procedure we usually use is we take the bids and for final approval, they look and make comparisons and see that they're all the same and then come back with suggestions for final approval, or you want, do we need final?
Normally what we do is we receive the bids on one day and then give whoever the organization, the agency, an opportunity to review them.
Yes.
In a bid situation, that's less critical than in a proposal situation.
Oh, okay.
But on this one, I think we anticipated the need to move fairly quickly, so they actually put it on the agenda for possible approval.
Possible approval.
And so what Devin suggested is fine. Just award the bid, a contingent award based on, they need to make sure that it's actually responsive to the bid, because it's significantly lower.
Cover the items.
They need to make sure that it's responsive, really, and then check references. But you can award it contingent on those two things.
Okay. So Devin, can you explain real quickly the scope of the project?
Sure.
Okay.
There's three basic parts of the project, and it's been a long process to get through the process of narrowing down the projects that we can do. The county did a great job of going through that process and looking at the different things. Where we ended up with was a project at the Fillmore City Spring site that replaces a flood wall that's deteriorated there. With fire, that was one area that was of particular concern, that the increased runoff due to the fire damage would increase the likelihood of having a problem there that could threaten a source for Fillmore City. Another aspect of the project is a new low water crossing at East Center Street or 100 North, depending on where you're at on that road. That was one of the failure points that we identified in a hydrologic analysis for the project, where it was likely that we might back up behind that bridge. And if water backs up right there, then it continues to flood all the way down the highway. So the low water crossing right there will handle situations where it does back up behind the bridge and direct those flows back into the creek bed instead of running along the properties all along there, all the way north along the highway.
So will that be some type of a catch basin there?
So it'll be a concrete low water crossing that'll just direct the flood water.
Or they can just drive around. It won't be a catch basin.
Right, just a channel.
So they can drive,
Okay.
so they can access. There's a part of the city that, if that washes out, they can't access for emergency. A part of the town there, there's several houses and subdivisions. So, and you can, it just creates an alternative route so they can, if they had emergency, they have a fire or ambulance, they can still get up there. They don't want to block them off.
Right.
So do you have to put in a culvert, or how are you going to be able to
no, it's
access it if there's water flowing?
Yeah, so it's about a 20-foot wide concrete channel
It's a
that goes
drive.
through the road with gradual slopes, so you can still drive through it.
Okay,
But just directing it, so instead of going on the properties and ponding where it is now, and then big floods, having it run all down the properties north of there, it'll direct it right back into the creek channel on the downstream side of the bridge to avoid those kind of problems for flood situations. And the third aspect of it is installing a trash rack in the main creek channel to protect the irrigation diversions and other infrastructure downstream of that point that's near the creamery head gate.
Just a couple of FYIs for the county. And Pat, we had that MOU, that agreement with the city, and but I don't think we've signed it yet, but.
It's not, but I think there's
I think-
absolutely an agreement in principle. I think
Yeah,
we're all on the same page.
we're all on the
Lisa's just
same
working
page.
out a little bit of back and forth on some of the language.
So the commission knows that this project, we had a 25% match. The rest of that is federal money from MCRS and the federal money, and this is for the Fillmore City Water and Spring, but the county has committed to pay 50% of the match. So this is, part of this is county budgets, part of it's the city, it's for Fillmore City, but the county is committed to pay 50% of that. We're in hopes in our contract that a lot of that will be in kind. That means that it's going to be our road department and other people up there furnishing material and parts. So you're aware that we will, this affects our budget too. It's not all total and it's not all city. We've committed to pay half of what our match is. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. This is a hard thing to keep straight.
Yeah, so far so good.
Pat, what were the two contingencies on them getting this bid?
Well, number one, on Sunrise, making sure that the bid is actually responsive to the request, that it checks all the boxes, and number two, that just an opportunity to check references.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. Who is BlackRock? Where are they located? Who we dealing with?
They're local, here to Fillmore.
Okay, who's the owner of BlackRock?
Clay Davies is here.
Okay, all right. So I just want to know if are they the only local company, or were the others local, or?
I don't know that any of the others are local,
Okay,
which we see that a lot of the times, that just mobilization costs of
yeah,
traveling.
I understand that. BlackRock's I just wanted to know who they are and where they're located, so,
Yeah.
thank you.
I make a motion, we award the construction of the Millard County WP 2023 spring site and water crossing to BlackRock, contingent on Sunrise's research on the responsiveness and what was asked of them, and checking their references.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to award the bid to BlackRock Construction contingent on if they check out the way they need to with Sunrise. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Okay, before we do the monthly financial review,
On that, Pat just came and said he has to go to the assembly, so he asked if we could move the sole source procurement agenda item to the end of the
okay,
meeting.
instead of doing it now, wait and do it at the end. Okay, we will do that. All right, I guess we are going to have the monthly financial review now. So Auditor Smith and Treasurer Camp will tell us what we need to know.
As far as the treasurer's side, I actually have reports that need to be signed for both March and April. We met on April 15th and then again yesterday. As far as the treasurer, we're just, at this point, we're collecting personal property. The deadline was May 15th, so we've had a rush on that recently.
Like Christine said, this is, we're asking for review on both March and April. We met mid-April, I think it was April 15th, and then we met again yesterday, May 20th, to go over April and March's review with, within the 30 days. We're just now presenting both months. And part of the requirement is that I review through an income statement, a comparative income statement, which you were emailed Friday, each quarter. And so I've also brought a hard copy up for you so we can kind of go through that if you have any questions and just point out a few things on that review. So just to kind of see how the county's flowing compared to how it was this time last year, right? So, and in the first quarter. So the first page, I think it's called the prior year comparative income statement. I think it's on the front of what I've given you. It's general fund, and then the first line is revenue and expense, and it shows revenue is up 43%. And this is primarily due, this is quite a big difference. It's we met 68% of our sales tax budgeted revenue just through April, and so that's significant to our budget.
So mostly sales tax.
Right.
Is what you're saying.
So we're at 68% of what we anticipated, and we anticipated over 2 million. And then also interest, we're at 52% of anticipated interest at the end of April. Or excuse me, at the end of March. This is the first quarter. So that's, significant. So that's what we're looking at, general fund. And then next down is recreation. It shows revenues up quite a bit. There was 2 anomalies in West Regional Park. They had 2 months of over 10,000 each collection, so that's why you're seeing that number.
A question, Bonnie, last year when we did the budget, we raised fees. Just in your mind, is this showing an increase in fees or more of an increase in participation?
I don't get the numbers participation, but the numbers suggest that it is an increase in fees.
Okay, I'm just wondering if what we did mattered.
Yeah, I mean, we can check with the department, but I don't have the numbers.
It'd be nice to evaluate that and see if we're just getting more participation, or if we didn't get huge increases, but we felt we hadn't increased them for a long time. If the little bit actually helps, it'd be nice to see that. Okay, thank you.
And both general fund and general fund and recreation, both of them show an increase in spending, which is probably due to inflation compared to this time last year, right? So, and then road department, those numbers are quite a bit different, and it's because the one-time funding, the revenue shows 81%, but that's because of the 1.7 million, and then the spending is 107% over last year because a lot of equipment has already been purchased and paid for. The rest of the funds, 22, 26, 27 through 46, all the revenue is, other than, strike force, excluding those 2, the interest is significant. And that's why you're seeing those increases on the revenue. And if you move down to Fund 50, which is landfill, we're at 36% compared to our anticipated budget collection on revenue at the end of March, which is great. So we would, 3 months, that's 25%, so we're 16% collections are a little bit higher, and in drilling down and looking at that, like our first month was quite a bit higher in 2024 than it was in 2023. So spending's up because we had a one-time final payment for that front load truck in February. And then we go to ambulance. Their revenue is showing up to on this report it says 68%, but really when I drill down into it, the collection's at 47% of what we anticipated in our budget as of the end of March, and interest is 51% on anticipated budget. So that's where your revenue's coming from. And down in Fund 57, we're interest again. We love the interest. All taxpayers are benefiting right now from the interest on these funds. And telephone user charges were up about 40% of our anticipated budget as well. So any questions? So. What also I gave you was just like a screenshot. If you did have questions, we could go like overhead view of individual departments, and those budgets are referred to if you have anything. So, sorry.
No, you're okay.
For both months, the treasurer and auditor are in balance, just for the record. So.
I just see a few people come in, and if you happen to put your name on our roll, I invite you to come up and please print your name on our clipboard for the minutes.
You want a motion?
Do either of you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Yeah, we'll look for a motion then.
Do we need one? We don't need one.
Oh, okay. When I went over these papers with these two ladies yesterday, everything looked good. They do a great job, and I don't think anything's going to happen bad financially while these two are taking care of us. So anyway, I appreciate what they do. Thanks, ladies.
Yeah, Bonnie just reminded me something that maybe that might be of interest to you. I did an analysis this week of comparing 22 to 23, and last year we had almost 800,000 extra money that we got for interest, collected for interest, and like 450,000 in sales tax increase last year compared to 22.
Yeah, that's great.
Anyway, other than the sales tax, that means we're paying more for
I like those trends.
everything else, but but interest. Anyway.
Okay, next on the agenda is the discussion and possible approval of the sole source procurement for the tasers, but we're going to move that to the end. Pat had to go to an assembly for a little bit, and then he'll be back. So, 10:15 agenda item. Discussion and possible approval of Resolution 24-05-21, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Millard County, Utah, appointing Craig Hall as hearing officer / ALG for land use appeal.
We've struggled to find somebody to do this. We thought we had Brent Bateman, then Dale Ayer, and Dale Ayer's boss, the Utah County attorney, changed his mind, said he could do it, so I've been scrambling to try to find somebody to handle this. I was given Mr. Hall's name, and I think he'll be great. In fact, it might be somebody that we could talk about appointing on a more permanent basis rather than ad hoc. He does, his career now is almost exclusively doing land use hearings and appeals.
Where's he from, Pat? Where's he located?
He's in Salt Lake.
Is he ca-
Yeah, but most of the litigants can be there, and
They're
most of it
all
can be
there.
done. Yeah, most of it can be done remotely anyway.
Yes.
They'll either do Zoom hearings or most of it's on paper anyway.
Whoever used him before?
Nope, never used him before. I had just met him through this. He anticipates probably between $4,000 and $5,000 would be the cost for handling the appeal.
Well, you've been kind of looking for some.
Yeah, we've used
people
Brent
because
Bateman a
it's-
lot in the past, but
Yeah.
I guess he's just really busy. He was the property ombudsman for several years before he went to Denton's, but just not able to. Dale Air was kind of excited about the prospect, but wasn't able to because of his employment with Utah County.
Okay.
But I think Craig will be good. But I'd not met him before this. And I've stayed in close touch with both of the parties and let them know kind of the progress. They know that this is going to happen today.
Okay, sounds good. Any other questions?
Nope. I make a motion to approve Resolution 24-5-21.
Before you second, can I make sure you understand, I sent it around yesterday, but one of the provisions in there is that you're not only appointing him, but you're authorizing me to execute a retainer agreement with him, just so we don't have to come back to do that later.
Is that resolution correct?
It's in there. Yeah.
I second the motion. It's a roll call.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 24-05-21 for the appointment of Craig Hall as hearing officer for the land use appeal. We need a roll call vote.
Call for a roll call vote on resolution 24-05-21 as discussed. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes. All right. Next, 1020 item, discussion and possible approval of a purchasing card for Kevin Morris.
Yeah, so with the changeover in tourism, Rachel is okay with Kevin having a new credit card for $1,500 for incidentals.
How
So
much money?
$1,500.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the credit card for Kevin Morris in the amount of $1,500.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve a purchasing card for Kevin Morris with a $1,500 credit limit. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any disapprove? Okay, that passes. Okay, 1025 item, discussion and possible approval of Resolution 24-05-21A, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Millard County, Utah, amending Resolution 24-01-02, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Millard County, Utah, delegating the executive functions of the county commission to individual commissioners by changing commission duty assignments.
I think the intent here was to consolidate the Delta office assignments. The employees in that office have report through different county departments. Some of it's planning, some of it's landfill, some of it's the assessor's office. I think the intent with these changes was simply to consolidate all of that to one commissioner so that they weren't splitting they weren't reporting through two commissioners.
So currently the Delta office is not listed on the duty assignments.
So I think what we would need to kind of remember for the future is that the Delta office assignment, and I did look back on that, the reason we took the Delta office off was because they were covered by the other departments. They were either covered by, they either reported through the assessor, or they reported through the landfill, or through the justice court, or through the planning department. But I think it makes sense to have that back on there just to acknowledge that, but then also to make sure that planning and landfill are
Get those duties.
the same,
Get all the duties,
yeah,
you know, split
yeah,
those ones up.
or the same commissioner.
So we'd have to change assignments to put all in.
I don't know what,
So currently, Commissioner Wright has the planning.
I actually have landfill and planning and zoning already.
okay, so I think that's
So it'd be a
all,
great fit for you.
so all we're doing then I guess is just creating a new executive assignment for the
I
Delta
don't know whether
office.
I like your suggestion. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, all we'd be doing then is just creating an assignment, an executive assignment for
executive
the
assignment.
Delta office, and it would just
Okay.
go along with those two.
And
That's
those
simple.
three items would be now all three combined. so
Combined.
Whoever takes one is up.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
No, I understand.
I make a motion to approve resolution 24-5-21A.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 24-05-21A, delegating executive functions to the Delta office. All those in favor, oh, whoops, we need a roll call vote.
I'm going to call for a roll call vote on resolution 24-05-21A as discussed. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes. So now do we need to put somebody in that position?
No, it's done by the resolution. Mark, you'll just make the changes and attach it to the resolution.
So do we put Commissioner Wright's name on that?
Yeah, it'll be
Okay.
in his list. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll just combine those.
Okay, great. Appreciate you doing that, Commissioner Wright.
Since I'm the farthest one away, is that what?
Well, I don't think it'll change anything. It just acknowledges that
Yeah.
there's a group of people in that office that have multiple
We're not
departments.
changing
They'll
that.
It
just
doesn't
call
change
you.
anything. It won't add anything.
Okay, next. Guess we can do this. Sheriff's here. The 10:30 agenda item, discussion and possible awarding of bids for the sheriff's office patrol vehicles.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I'll draw a recollection back to the bids as they came in. We received two bids. One was for Ford half-tons. It was the 2.7 EcoBoost vehicle. I think they were around $72,000. The other one was from Sahara Motors, a local business, for Dodge half-tons at $42,782.50. There's some add-ons to that we typically would put on, and that's a protection group, that's skid plates and those types of things that go on for our off-road needs. And we have been taking advantage of the adjustable pedals because that's accommodated many of our different statured deputies quite well and make them a bit safer in operating the vehicles. There are two other add-ons on that bid that we haven't necessarily opted for in the past, and that's a
So
spray.
those add-ons would be on both bids.
Would be, I don't know if they're on the Fords already or not, Commissioner.
Okay, but they possibly could be on
It
both.
possibly
Okay.
could be. I'll jump to the point that this is a difference in the amount is something we don't feel like we could ever overtake. That's $30,000 difference in a pickup. And although they're nicer, and I mentioned last week that maybe one of the concerns about the Dodges has been the resilience. We've taken the last week and looked at that track record. Indeed, we've replaced a good number of fuel pumps, and Dodge had some flattened camshaft issues in that model. They've supposedly rectified most of that. Having said that, even with the many fuel pumps and the other minor repairs, with the exception of camshafts, we're still not paying anywhere near $70,000 for a truck. And they've been serviceable. They may not be the most popular, they may not be the most stylish, but they're serviceable, and they've gotten us where we need to go, and we realize we realize the difference in the cost there. So with regards to availability, the captain has contacted Sahara, and they've assured him with a fairly comfortable posture that they should be able to get these trucks this year, that Dodge has gotten better. These are the special service vehicles, quite commonly used for law enforcement. That's the package we've used in the past. We like them. They have a slick back seat, and I think a slick floor. They're easy clean. We can easily make a mess out of the vehicle, and those that we transport sometimes make a mess of the vehicle. And so just for orderliness, these trucks are a little easier for us to keep clean. So I would say if we were to accept a truck that meets our specs, it could be the Dodge Ram 1500. The bid price was $42,782.50. The add-ons would be the adjustable pedal and the protection group at $140 and $415 respectively. That would bring a total of $43,337.50 per unit. Now, in the sake that, as you well know, the truck market still remains rather dynamic, and in the sense that something goes south and these trucks become unavailable, we would probably reapproach with the exploration of state contracted businesses that hold state contract on truck pricing. But I believe this price is probably competitive to that, and it's a local dealership. It's a way to keep our money close to us. The other local dealer wasn't able to place a bid because their orders had closed for the year. So
I'm surprised that the Ford bids are that high, because a few months ago we got some quotes from them and they were quite a bit lower.
Yeah.
But they still weren't 43 or 42,000, so.
When you call Sahara, did you say, can you get us a truck, or what can you get us? And they decide between Dodge or Ford, or why didn't Sahara do a Ford quote?
Right. I haven't had a specific conversation with the commissioner about that. My sense is that we have had good business dealings with both our local dealers. They probably saw, this is surmisement, right? They probably saw, well, here's a truck coming in at 70 grand, we're not even going to bother.
Yeah.
Well, I know when I talked to Sahara a few months ago, they told me that it was take them at least a year to get Ford trucks in, but they could get the Dodges probably within 3 months.
It still remains an exceptionally dynamic environment. Vehicles at large, but trucks in particular, and prices are, my personal opinion, outrageous. It makes it very difficult to do the business of the county, particularly the sheriff's office, with these patrol trucks. But nonetheless, it's important that we remain in trucks in order to get to the places we need to get to in this vast county, and they still hold some value over a passenger car in the end of it all. So that's what I have to submit for bid approvals or awards.
Is these trucks replacing leased vehicles that we're buying out, or are they replacing?
These are usual rotations off patrol vehicles, which are not leased vehicles.
Which are not leased, okay, because we've had some leased vehicles we're buying out. So.
Yeah, different creature.
So we're going from a purchase truck to a purchase truck. So we will have some resale. So we'll have vehicles that we'll have. We've
never leased in the patrol fleet.
Yeah. So on top of that, I guess we got to put lights and on top of these. So what's that running now?
Right, and that's another irritant of the sheriff's.
Yeah, and me too. So
it's a gouge fest out there. No disrespect for folks in the free enterprise system, but it's extremely expensive to outfit these. And as we used to say in the old days, as Detroit changes dimensions on the vehicles, the light bars, the brackets, and all of this kind of stuff stands a chance of changing all things that we have no control over. I forget, Commissioner, what we paid last year, but we've paid as much as $12,000 a vehicle to have it equipped. a patrol vehicle.
We considered some local people, do they still, are they available to?
Yes, we do have the local resource do our unmarked vehicles, which are far less technical. That's their preference.
Okay, but
They've opted not to do the patrol vehicles.
So they don't do the.
They do not like doing those. But we do save good money on our unmarked installations through a local business.
How old's those that we're trading in?
Everything from late teens, yeah.
Okay, so they've been used for a while. You got some good use on them, okay?
Yeah.
You ready for a
Any
motion?
other questions? Okay.
Okay, I would move that we accept is it for 5? That we accept.
That's the intention right now, yeah.
I would move we accept the low bid for the vehicles, the Dodges, which is 42 something.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the bid for the Dodge trucks for the Sheriff's Office patrol vehicles. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, great. All right. 10:35 agenda, Millard County Master Transportation Plan Update. Micklin Farmer, Jones and DeMille Engineering.
Is there a chance I could plug my laptop in? Yeah.
Okay, state your name, because I'm sure I didn't pronounce it
Oh,
correctly.
no, you're okay. McLean Farmer with Jones and DeMille Engineering. I was here about, I don't know, 8 months ago, talking about another project, and I've been here previous for this one as well. First off, we appreciate working here in the county. We really want to shape the quality of life for those that live here. We have been working on the transportation plan with Adam and his team, as well as the road department, coming up with this plan, as well as Commissioner Wright. Here and there, we've been meeting with him as well on this. Before I get into this, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because I want to give the commissioners and the public an opportunity to look at this on their own. But basically, we're about 80% there. A lot of the public involvement portion is the next piece. Currently, we have a public open house scheduled in Delta on the 6th of June, and then a public open house here in Fillmore on the 13th. Those are both going to be held at 6 o'clock. The reason we wanted to do both of those instead of just one, we want Delta to be able to give as much input as Fillmore. We know there's a bigger distance between those two cities, so we want to make sure we give all the citizens of the county an opportunity to come and comment. We're going to put this out for probably 3 weeks for public comment starting on the 13th, and then allow the public to comment on it from there, and then we would take those comments and make changes based on what we get back. So I guess the key item here is that we're not finished yet, so what you see here is not set in stone. We want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to look at it. I'm going to go over this really quickly because I know we're short on time. Maybe. There we go. So this is what we call a story map. Basically, it tells the story of how the project came to be and then shows the end result. the hope is that the planning commission as well as the commissioners can use this as a tool in commission meeting as well as in planning commission. So this just gives you a simple project overview of the project, and the Wi-Fi is a little slow, so it takes a minute to load.
I can't see it at all.
Slide over here so you can see.
Maybe I'll slide over here. Oh, yeah, that's better. Slide over here. Trailer can see it.
So you can scroll through this and you can read through kind of how he came up with the project, how the county established the need for it, and things like that. This next page is the socioeconomic data, so your population, your income. You're going to see some numbers here that don't look accurate. A lot of that has to do with the census data. So this was done back in 2020. That's before house prices went up. That's before inflation happened, before population may have increased. So these numbers are going to be a little biased based on only census data back in 2020. This first map that we've created is the transportation network within the valley. And so the left-hand side, you'll see the existing classification network on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, you're going to see the future. So that includes reclassification of roads within the county as well as new roads that aren't currently in place. Any questions on that? And a lot of this classification has to do with funding as well. How you can get funding for projects. This map is pretty simple. It's a simple, the B road map. So this shows your paved gravel and dirt roads. This is how you get your Class B road money through UDOT.
Is everything that qualifies for Class B money on that, those red or those roads that qualify?
Yeah, all of those roads that are shown.
That's the ones that qualify for?
Correct.
Okay, what's the yellow ones?
The yellow ones are, oh, I apologize, there it is. Here's the legend. So the yellow are dirt, red are gravel, blue is paved.
So do we get a different amount for dirt and gravel?
Correct. Yes.
There's a difference in the formula.
Yep. So the gravel is, you're maintaining that, the dirt roads are native.
The dirt roads just,
Yeah, so,
they crush.
right.
Are the dirt roads Class D roads, or are they Class B roads?
They can be, well, all of these are considered Class B roads, and then you don't get any money for Class D.
So if we grade the dirt roads, that counts, so they'll pay us for them.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking pennies on the dollar when it comes to dirt roads, because you're not maintaining them as much. But any road that you're saying that you're currently grading, basically, are those roads that are considered Class B roads.
That's the ones we gravel.
Or grade. So if you have a dirt road that they're maintaining, then that's when that Class B money would take effect.
Those dirt ones are on there just as a result of RSV 2477.
No, they're not. Those are D roads.
They're
Those are D roads, yeah. Those are separate. And I can get with you in more detail on that piece. I know that you had an agreement with Sevier County on some roads where Sevier County and Millard County overlap. And so I can get with you on that later on to review that as well. We didn't put any D roads on here just because there's a possibility that needs to be updated.
It absolutely needs to be updated. I thought that was a part of the thing here. So when you were here before, I mean, I'd mentioned that I hadn't even had a conversation about this, and I still haven't.
About the D roads?
About the transportation plan.
Well, I mean, we can bring you in at any point. We've just been working with Adam and the road department to start the process. This is, like I said, this is not final by any means. We need all of the county commissioners, all of the county staff to review this so that we're not coming up with a plan that gets adopted that nobody's looked at.
Pat, how do you want that to happen? Because Pat mentioned that to me 6 months ago. He says, before you get done, and I think I mentioned it once, but we have a coordinator. So let's talk about how to coordinate that so that you can have a look-see and some input before we get to the point.
All right, for sure.
So Pat, have you got a suggestion? Why don't you make a suggestion?
Adam has my phone number.
Okay, all right. Adam, would you follow through that? So that connection happens?
And I can come over and meet with you. Are you here in Fillmore? I'm happy to come over and meet with you one-on-one.
Need to do that.
Yeah, okay.
If you'd follow through with that, Adam, just make sure we get a look-see from the county point.
Yeah.
Legal point, and make sure we're going the right direction. Thank you.
Yeah, the D roads are a hot topic as well. So as far as the D roads go, a lot of times, like Sevier County, they're working on their mapping those currently because they haven't been GPSed. They're working on that piece of it. And I can talk with you, Pat, on that as well.
Yeah, I spend 75% of my spring dealing with D road issues.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Pat wants some clarity, so.
Yeah.
So, because this is a problem that he gets a lot of calls and it's difficult.
Yeah.
So now's a good time to get his input so that we can mitigate some of those problems in the future. I'm sure he has some suggestions we need to consider.
Okay. Oh, let me go back to this, sorry. This piece of the map, you can see it pulled up here. This is where we put those traffic counters out, basically the two tubes that cross the road, you drive over those and get a count. And so you can click on each one of these, you can pull up, it takes a minute, but you can pull up the ADT on the road and then it goes through all of the classifications of vehicles that are on that road. So you can see the types of vehicles that are on the roads currently. Those traffic counts were done back in the fall, and we also tried to accommodate when school is in session, getting those roads that have a little more school traffic and things like that. This is your crash data map. This crash data is pulled from UDOT. So you're going to see the majority of the yellow is on the freeway, of course, because that has the most traffic on it, but you can see some of the hot spots throughout the county.
Is the red where you get more crashes?
The yellow, so the yellow's the hottest. So you can see over here in the legend, high is yellow, and then goes to red and blue. So you can see the hot spots are along the freeways, a lot over in Delta, and then there's a lot of these little blue areas are a lot of like recreational accidents or like deer or wildlife hits, and these are only the accidents that get reported either to the sheriff's office or to the highway patrol. So any non-reported accident is not included in this. The reason we put this in here is just so, for the county's sake, they can see the hot spots within the county that have accidents, and they can use this to provide safety information when you're writing grants and things like that. This piece is the active transportation piece. This is something that the commission is going to want to review for sure, as well as the public. This is always a hot topic. We want the commission to look at this, make sure they agree with it. This is just a concept level at this point, and so we want the commission and the public to buy in or basically comment on any additional or anything that's on there that they want removed. We want to hear from the commission and the public. And when I talk active transportation, we're talking bike paths, walking paths, things like that. Short-range plan, these are the projects that are within the next 0 to 10 years. So these projects that are shown here, you can click on them and it'll pull up a cost estimate with the scope of work, the length, the year that it's anticipated with the inflated estimated cost. This example is Jones Road. That's already funded through Joint Highway. We went without them to Joint Highway Committee 3 months ago, and that was funded for 2027. And so that's one that's already funded, but these others will have to continue to work with you on to help you find funding for those. And then same thing with this long range. For some reason it's cutting off the sides, but this is the long range, so 10 to 20 years out. These roads here that you can see, same concept, click on them, and has all of the information there. Any questions on any of that? I know there's going to be more questions, but I don't want to go too much into detail with it.
I'm just curious about when you put those hose things across the road that does the counting, how do they know what type of vehicle it is?
So it measures axle width. So it measures the distance between the axles, and then it classifies them based on that.
Okay, makes sense.
This is your documents page. So once the plan's complete, we currently don't have, when you click on this, this is just where the master plan report is going to go. They recently pushed an update for this software that we use, and it made things way worse. So we're working out how to get the report in here now. That's about typical for software updates, but we're trying to figure out with the software company, it's ArcGIS, how we can get a PDF back in here, because now they're making us have you download it. So we're working with them on that, and we'll send the report that we have just as a PDF for you to look at. It's a riveting, like, 300-page document that you can read through. So, and then all of these other links, there's the Millard County Code, the Millard County General Plan, Construction Standards, and Planning and Zoning. When you click on that, it takes you to the county code website. So you can use this as kind of a bookmark in commission meeting. If you need to pull something up, you can go straight to whatever website you want. Same thing for all of these. And then this is just a simple definition page. This is mostly for the public, but also for within the county, just basically going through and defining some of the terms that we use so that the public understands what we're looking at. Just a simple definition sheet. It doesn't include everything within the plan, but it gives the public an idea of why we're saying ADT or Class B and C funds, functional classification, what that means and what it does. So we're trying to give everybody an opportunity to understand what those terms are, so we're not speaking as much in a more jargon language than we already have to. So, like I said, we're going to have those 2 public open houses, and then we're I'll also come before adoption and present again once we've kind of finalized things, once I've met with Pat and gone over those items that we need to. Once everybody's comfortable with the plan itself, then that's when adoption would occur. So my anticipation would be it would take place sometime in July or August, pending approval from everybody that needs to look at it. We don't want anybody within the county, especially county personnel, to not have a chance to look at it. So.
There are a couple of questions. Remind me of the history of the state. I guess, mandated or suggested that we all have a transportation plan, and that's how this was initiated, correct?
Correct.
And they give us enough money for the study, or help us, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. As we go on and we anticipate some upgrades, generally we have enough money in our transportation dollars to do maintenance, but when we have to change a road and kind of have a big improvement, we never have enough transportation dollars to do that. So is this all on us, or what resources do we have available when you change that road? You know, maintenance is pretty good. We get by, but when you go from a gravel mag road to an asphalt road, that's a whole different deal. And
For sure.
We don't have enough resources to do that with what we get from the state. So is anticipation that's all on us, or is there resources available to do those major upgrades?
Yeah, so there's a couple options out there. There's always funding agencies that we can help you go to get those funds. We have, there's multiple programs out there. You have, CIB is not ideal right now. They don't have a lot of money.
We're not going to get none from there.
You've got some earmark funding basically through your congressional district you can go to. There's also the UDOT Joint Highway Committee that we got funding for in 2027. That's a significant one. The only hang up with that is on this map here. Whoops.
So what you're saying is, it's gonna, we're gonna have to explore, it's gonna be back on us. So what if we get to a situation, Adam, a major upgrade, we just don't have the money to do it. It's on the plan, but, I'm not sure I want to borrow money to do this thing. So
yeah, these dates that we put in, they're fluid, right?
Okay.
Like, let's say we put in the plan that we're going to do this road in 2030. That doesn't mean you have to do it in 2030. That's just a...
We have some flexibility to plan for it and look for some...
Correct.
Some help. Okay.
Most likely, these projects are going to push. If we're being realistic, we just want to have a plan so you know what projects you want to do within a certain time frame.
What we need to be looking at.
So you can look at funding as well.
Yeah, this actually becomes a very effective tool for requesting funding because you can show that it's consistent with what your long-term plans are. And a lot of those dollars are going to be dependent on, is this something you've been planning for, that you've had a need? Are you working towards accomplishing this over time? They often have that as one of the qualifying parts of the funding, is if it matches up with what you're trying to do long-term. And this evidences that we have a plan and are working towards building this out over time.
Give us the evidence to qualify for resources. If you don't have it, you won't.
Yeah.
Yeah, so especially with like the congressional money through your congressional district, you have to have it on a capital improvement project list, which is what this is. And so that's why you need the transportation plan, is it has to be adopted by the county, so it's an adopted plan with the capital improvement project list, so you can actually go apply for funds. So.
I've got another question for you.
Yes.
We are wanting to put a fence along Highway 257 just to make it safer. Would any of these grants that you're talking about, could we get money for safety of the highway besides just the actual construction or maintenance?
So a lot of that's going to have to do with UDOT, mostly because they have jurisdiction over the right-of-way within the highway right-of-way. So that's something that we can help you work with UDOT on to see if there's some safety funds out there. They have roadway safety grants that they have. They have different grant options, but they are going to be the ones that dictate how that goes in.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions?
So moving forward, we'll be getting with Pat. We'll also be at those 2 public open houses. We're going to open public comment period for 3 weeks unless the commissioners, unless you as the commission want to increase that time frame to allow for more public comment. We're happy to do that as well. But that's the plan as of now. So, any thoughts? 3 weeks adequate? Yeah? Okay, okay. And if we get in those meetings and people are like, 2 weeks isn't enough, which happens sometimes, then I mean, we can talk about extending that, so. Okay.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. All righty, the 10:45 agenda item, discussion and possible approval of EMT volunteer program. Our HR director has been working with the sheriff and trying to come up with some ideas here.
Yeah, I can. That helps. Thank you. Marky can even see it.
Oh, as I fall and break my face, that'd be awesome.
So Commissioner Johnson had asked that we bring numbers and a recommendation, so we spent the week having interviews. I know Vicki was involved in some of that conversation and going over numbers and trying to figure out what the best possible outcomes were as far as a viable response to figuring out how to at least make the EMTs operational. And so I appreciate all of the time that was spent from everybody who was doing this. So this is our presentation. So you can see the numbers over here in the blue, and it's interesting as we went into this, Auditor Smith and I were having a conversation that obviously the budgeted amount and the needs amount probably were different, right? The budgeted amount currently did not include a full staff as we went through it. So full staffing means that we have three on-call people on each side of the county, plus 2 on-call people on each side of the county as well, so a total of 10. And you can see right here, this number right here, this is the amount of runs on a 3-year average that we've done, 758, plus these 4 numbers right here would be in addition to that, so almost 960 total runs a year. So we're looking at 2.5 to 3 runs a day, right? Whether those are in-county or transfers, there's almost 2.5 on a 3-year average that we're doing a day. So obviously the need for multiple crews makes sense, right? Because if I'm doing a 7-hour transfer to St. George, the statistics, the data shows that most likely we're going to have another incident that needs another response. Right, and so these were not fully budgeted for resources, obviously, but the resources that we wanted to include it as if they were the current budget, because I do believe, and after communicating with these guys, it is the current need, right? And there's a reason why we're having transfers that aren't able to be filled, and it's because we obviously don't have enough resource. So this number right here is our loaded miles, and so this is 60 cents for every loaded transfer that we do. So here's the total. Most of the 216 transfers, 177 of those go to Utah County or Iron County. And in fact, only 7 of those go to Iron County, so most of them go to Utah County. Right, we did have 34 to either Salt Lake or Washington County, but the bulk majority of those go to transfer to Utah County. So these are the loaded miles. Right here is the number of transfers times current transfer fee right there, and so our total spend is $106,000. Interestingly enough, as we looked at the numbers, our largest expense obviously comes down here when we look at the on-call pager time. So it's what we discussed last week, right? The on-call pager time, obviously 24 hours a day, right? 7 days a week, 365 days a year, that fee's there. After communicating with lots of the EMTs, the interest seems to be in actually a higher transfer rate instead of a higher on-call rate. And the reason for that is because those transfer rates obviously take the bulk of time, right? I mean, a transfer to Utah County, you're a minimum of 5 hours, right? And that's 5 hours away from home. And so that was how we kind of came up with the number. So you can see the difference here. This blue line right here is the current fee schedule, and this pink line over here is the proposed fee schedule. And we actually are offering almost, our recommendation is almost 100% increase on fee schedule for the transfers alone, right? And as you can see that the numbers here actually are not hugely different. So this blue total right here would be a fully staffed current budget, and this is the fully staffed increase proposal that we're given. The difference is only $62,000 in that. Our proposal obviously to pay for that comes from these sources down here. Obviously, we would have to have a discussion about the need for an ambulance every year, if we could go to every other year. That's a discussion that we haven't had yet, but we have TRT funds where we could pull $30,000 to $40,000. We do have grant money that is fairly consistent in the tune of $60,000 to $70,000 a year. And then also we know that we have the hospital contribution that's coming in. So I don't really think that we're even going to need to tap into any of the general fund budget for that. I think that we can cover the entire increase out of these other sources, and so that's our solution for the budget increase. We are going to ask for a 6% increase on pager rate, which is about 11 cents addition for that. But like I said, the biggest majority of the increase is going to come from the transfer and run rates. And we're looking at almost 100% across the board on those.
Jacob, how will insurance respond to that? Are those going to be approved by insurance carriers?
So we'll have to have that conversation. We haven't yet. So
that's most of the.
The fees are set.
The fees are set by the state.
Yeah, the state sets that fee that we can bill.
Yeah, this isn't what we can collect. This is what we're paying our EMTs.
He used the term.
Talking about the fees.
No, these are our transfer fees. Yeah, that we pay the EMTs. Yeah, sorry.
Maybe Pat, someone that knows the history, we have a county, we have commissioners, we have other executives, we have public safety, and there's a line around, we cooperate with other counties, but we're not responsible for their, and I can see that we have some responsible for our citizens here to get them to a certain point. Thinking back, how did we become responsible for hauling people to St. George or Salt Lake?
I have no idea. My only point was,
I know that, but I'm asking, this is a redundant question maybe, but I'm
actually, we bring in a lot of funding that way.
So we voluntarily do it because we think we're making money then, that's what you're saying?
Yeah.
But what happens to the point when we aren't making money? I mean, we voluntarily did it because we thought, hey, we can use this ambulance and make money.
We're not making money.
Okay, and that's what I'm saying, we're not making money.
Well, we're making money off the transfers that helps pay for having ambulances and doing our local runs.
Okay, all right, but just a question, how did we get in that business anyway?
Does it bring in money? Yes. Does it make a profit? No.
No, okay.
No, it's.
I understand it brings in money.
Right. We've learned the very few things we do in the county makes a profit.
And therefore, to Commissioner Johnson's summary there, and therefore it does cover many of the expenses, the revenue that does come in. We're
attempting to amortize our costs with other things, so I mean, I was wondering how we got to that point, but go ahead.
It's a service everybody wants, too.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, it's a service that we need, right? And there is and we talked about this a little bit last time, that the municipalities probably carry the bulk of responsibility to make sure that it happens, right? We just, as a county, since, I don't know, forever, as far as I know, right, have been the ones to ensure that it happens, though that we don't carry the legislative or the legal responsibility to make sure it happens, so. And if that's a different discussion, if we want to have that discussion, for sure.
No, that's a different discussion.
Yeah, that's a different discussion. So, Sheriff, do you have anything that you want to add into this?
No, there's been a tremendous amount of work going into this. My thanks to everyone. I haven't been privy to every conversation. Had I changed anything, that would be one thing I changed, is that I could have been more involved in all of the conversations. But this is a bit of a summary that's being presented today. It is kind of a back to square one. We kind of pitched that amount at budget, and it's a busy county. We failed to have a conversation about that for whatever reasons then. But this, I think, is made mostly capable by the grant monies, at least for now, up front. That's about the amount. And you know, those are our needs. How do you decide to fund those?
Yeah, and to be transparent, so our current budgeted amount, obviously I'm showing $269,000 right here. Actually, our current budgeted amount is only $230,000. But after looking at it, it's because it's not funding the full resources that have been determined as the needs. Right, and so this would represent, if we were fully staffed, the budget, and that's with, again, 3 on-call people right on each side of the county, plus backup crew on each side of the county of 2 people for a total of 10 on-call, right? And we didn't currently budget for that, and so this doesn't represent the current budgeted amount. So. But this is the current budgeted as we see the resource needs, right? So that would be the difference right there in the yellow, as close as we can come. And again, it's dynamic, and we budgeted on the high end. We budgeted as if every EMT were advanced, right? Which we know isn't the case, but we did budget on the high end of that. And so I think our expectation would be that the funding that is available to this would roll over for wages and retention, right? That if we did have extra money because of the fluidity of the way that it's staffed, that we wouldn't be able to look at that and say, oh, we have an extra $50,000 that was allocated for wages, let's spend it on something else. My recommendation would be that it's kept for wages and retention, so that as the fluidity of that happens, because I don't know if we're going to have 3 EMTs or 3 advanced EMTs, or, you know, is the driver also an advanced EMT? I mean, there's so much fluid to it, right? That we don't know. It's hard to budget that because we don't know. We don't know how many go on every call even, right? So we did budget for 3 people on every transfer, and I budgeted as if they were 3 advanced people on every transfer. So that would be the high end of that difference there. I anticipate it would be lower, but obviously as the county grows, I mean, again, almost 1,000 transfers or runs in a calendar year, that's a lot, right? And so I think it just continues to increase from there. Any other comments?
I'd just add that, you know, we're hopeful that this addresses immediate needs. Jacob's brought up the topic of the future, and we know that we're growing. We've pitched our model, probably an imperfect model, but a model of what full-time staffing and coverage looks like. We probably have to be realistic that at some point we're probably arriving there. If it's not now, hopefully this addresses many of our immediate needs, coupled with ongoing recruitment and some other measures that we can take. Hopefully this is progress here, and I believe that it is progress.
Yeah. Questions?
The problem with over the last couple of months is standby events. Is it just because people are getting burned out, or we're not paying enough? But that goes back to the events. Are they willing to pay enough pay out.
Why we haven't had it covered, or?
Yeah, like I know.
We don't have the staffing.
At motocross.
We can't cover an ambulance for the county and then be able to do the
Well,
motocross as well.
Yeah.
And I think the one day that we missed one is because we had we had motocross and one other that same day,
Yeah.
plus trying to cover your ambulance. So that one was because we had 2 other events standbys going at the same time.
Plus, we have to keep main crew.
Yeah.
Main crew always comes first.
yeah,
So we've got to have the 3, and then we've got to have standby 2 for each ambulance. And 90% of the time we're on weekends, which.
well, yeah, and that's what I'm asking, that's the only thing that hasn't changed is that, but that really comes down to the event, so they willing to pay $30 an hour to have 2 or 3 people sitting there.
So we had a set rate, and I authorized that we essentially double that because it hadn't been changed for a long time. So that went into effect a while ago, and I think, thinking back on the discussion with Jacob, the reason we probably didn't touch that, and it's not that it isn't an issue, but on the comparative scale, the number of standby events pales into what we're staffing for regular medical runs and transfers.
I know this is the.
So.
I mean, that's always changeable, if that's what you're wanting.
Well, no, I honestly, it just comes down to the events.
You want to throw more money at it.
$50 an hour, $100 an hour, if they can pay for it.
It's traditionally been a staffing issue.
But are people getting burned out even at $100 an hour? Are they going to go and sit there and do it? No, I'm too tired of going
Well, you
out
can
and
actually
sitting
get the standbys covered versus ambulance coverage.
Yes.
They would rather do standbys than do ambulance, because they're guaranteed that money.
It's probably an issue of there just being a perfect storm when we have a standby that doesn't get covered. There's just a perfect storm of some kind between transfers on the road and we're getting crashes and.
And some of it is that we're finding out 4 days before the event's happening, people aren't contacting us well enough in advance to be able to send that out as well.
Yeah.
I would just say, being here 3 years, and I don't know what happened before me, but I think the real advantage, obviously we're making some steps forward. It's hard to anticipate where we might need to be. And I think we can go forward in good faith and then see what kind of responses we get. This is a plan, and we can change a plan if it don't work. What we have now, which is a lot of work, really, Jacob and the sheriff and Kim and everybody, is we've never had any statistical information to make a decision. And it's always been really hard if we don't, we haven't had all the numbers before. So I think the best thing right now at this exercise is we have something to build on. We have a foundation, we have some statistical information. Jacob can pull up exactly what we're doing, not what we think we're doing or something like that. And I think our surveys and everything has helped us maybe arrive at a point. We solve the problem, I don't know, but we're going forward. I think it's a step in the right direction, and if we need to do more, it leads us to where we need to go. So.
Well, I think a couple of things, right? Like the sheriff said, that they gave a proposal, a year ago or so, and obviously that proposal got tabled. I think that the information that has been gleaned, this addresses that information, and so we can see if that was real, right? All we can do is the feedback that we got from the survey and the conversations and stuff, we can see that if that really is the issue, if it is, we're addressing those very issues, right? Both from an administrative standpoint, and then also just from a compensation standpoint, right? To figure out, hey, listen, are these the real problems? If they're not, then I think it bodes to the long-term solution that we discussed last time in figuring how to stand up a dedicated resource. But this gives us this kind of bridges that gap for us, I think, so.
So everybody that's been involved, what you've presented to us today just didn't drop out of the sky.
Right.
I think we need to recognize the changes that we anticipate or want to do has come about because of the research and what we've done. It's not just somebody's imagination. It isn't us that brought that up. It's basically talking to people and being able to get the survey and all that, and this is the result. Do we have it right? I don't know, but this is a result of what was done in the past. It just, somebody just didn't dream about this and thought this would work. And so, I mean, there's been a lot go into it.
Yeah, and I think for the
public.
public.
To address the problems that we've identified. There's probably other problems we haven't addressed, but we've tried to address the main ones we've identified.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think for the public, right, for their transparency in this is that there's been a lot of work that's gone into this, to your point, Bill, right, that these are not just arbitrary decisions. There's been a lot of research done. You know, Kim's put together numbers, contacted lots of other agencies, right? I know that Cindy has had conversations with the EMTs, Vicki has, the sheriff, and the entire department. You know, there's been a lot of legwork in this, and so these aren't just, hey, let's just throw more money at this. Right, these are actually, the fidelity of the process was really good, the methodology was good, and we feel very confident that based on that methodology, that this is a good solution. And so for the public's sake, right, with their tax dollars, that we're using this to the highest optimization based on the needs that we have been able to discover, and that discovery came with a lot of research and a lot of methodology. So we feel very confident that moving forward in this direction is a good direction.
Jacob, I don't want to belabor it too far, but there's some other buildings on this. We talked about actual increases on them. We spoke about transfers increasing, medical runs, just a standard medical run. Was that not also increased a bit?
Yeah, for our just our internal one.
Local.
Yeah, so we did our local runs. We increased $10, but then also our driver runs we increased. You know,
so I wanted to point out the driver specifically for anyone within earshot that's thinking about exploring EMS. Becoming a driver is an exceptional way of cutting your teeth and getting exposed to what's out there. We have drivers that are CPR certified, emergency vehicle operation certified, but they're not EMTs, but they're still a big piece of this puzzle. And we've talked about this before, right? We have ride-along programs, anyone wants to come right along. But another increase there also that we just gleaned right over was instructor pay. Part of even keeping this thing going through the years has been our ability, meaning their ability to hold classes and to bring instructors in and to instruct themselves. We felt it was important that the instructor compensation go up too, so it went to $20 an hour, and I think it was at 15. So there's, I think, a fair amount of increase that's occurred in here for a responsibly calculated amount of money. I'm going to leave it at that.
I like these numbers. I want to make sure that we're enticing younger people to get involved with this, and so I want to talk to them, some of the younger EMTs especially, and make sure that they think this is good enough, because I want people to want to be EMTs, because we definitely need them. But I think this is a great start. And
yeah, for our total percentage, we're increasing about 80%, right, across the board, 100% on transfers, but almost 80% when you take the totality of the increase, you know, so it's, I mean, it's a significant increase for, and again, right, it's got to be worth it. The value exchange has to be worth it, and you know, make $250 going to Salt Lake probably is, it's like a full-time day, right? It's a full-time day at a good wage, and so the compensation should elicit that type of value exchange. That's what we were hoping to accomplish.
yeah, and I know that we would like our EMTs to become advanced also, so I'm hoping that the difference in the pay rate there is enough that entices them to want to become advanced.
For sure.
Another thing, like the sheriff mentioned, eventually somewhere down the road we'll probably end up needing full-time crews, and we will need a building on both sides of the county to have people be able to go stay there. And I had heard people mention that, for those of you that are aware of Delta and where the DI used to be, of eventually maybe building a new building there right next to the fire department building. And I mentioned that to the mayor of Delta and one of the city councilmen, and that somebody had already mentioned it to them, and they seem like they're willing to work with the county and kind of keep that reserved for a potential spot there, even though they are planning on putting pickleball courts there right now. But it's pretty easy to tear up a concrete slab if we need to sometime in the future. So that's something the county might want to start thinking about, how we can make that work. But anyway, I appreciate your work. This is a great start.
I just want to if I may, just infringe upon the time for a minute. Obviously, Cindy's coming to the end of her experience here with us, and we just want to tell her how much we have appreciated the years and the energy, right, of making this a successful program. I think, what, Cindy, you got a week, 2 weeks before retirement's done or started, and so we just want to thank her for the time that she spent, for the energy, for building the program. I mean, she's been a huge value add for the county, for all of the citizens, and we can't tell her how much we appreciate the time that she spent. So,
oh yeah, great person. And I talked to a lot of EMTs on the west side, and they all told me how awesome you are. So, yeah, you've done a great job. And didn't you tell me you're still willing to go on runs?
Can I say this publicly? After URS says I'm done,
Oh.
I have to meet certain requirements.
Sure.
And then I could apply to become a volunteer again.
You have to apply to be a volunteer.
Yes, yes.
Pretty amazing.
As long as URS is satisfied, and I'm definitely willing to come back.
Awesome. We appreciate that. You've done a great job for the county.
She'll be back. She's a junkie. She'll be back. And Jacob stole my thunder. I was going to recognize Cindy as well. But I'll just add my kudos there. And I thought I was done talking, but you all know me better than that. It just coincidentally happens to be EMS Week, National EMS Week. And so, I mean, that is just the pinnacle of all of this, right? Let's recognize our emergency medical technicians and those that serve to make all of this happen. We've hung by a thread. Some days we hold by even finer than a thread. And somehow it just keeps happening, and we get through it. So my hat's off to all that serve.
Yes, I mean, our first responders are amazing people, and we've got a lot of volunteers in this county, and they're definitely appreciated. And I hope we can continue it on and get more interest in the EMT program.
We got to discuss where the money's coming from still.
Yeah.
Is that,
I mean, obviously, we have the grant money that's there now. We did have a question, Bonnie and I were having a question about the 2024 grant. I know that we like to say that there's $60,000 to $70,000 in grant money that's sitting there. Is that the 2024 money that we're expecting to come? Bonnie?
No, we haven't received it yet. You haven't gotten it yet? You should be getting it any time this week.
Okay.
It should have came in last week, but it should be coming in. You got the 13,000 one, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so the other 63, pull the invoice up, it should be here any day.
and that,
We'll
that's
follow
every
up.
year. Just got to fill out the application.
It's all done, yeah. and
Yeah,
the-
but it's every year. Got to.
Yeah, I mean, it's been very consistent, right, Kim?
So this year, we're working on the new one. You're guaranteed 40 grand for sure, and an additional 30,000 for that competitive grant, depending on all these numbers and figures in there. So even just applying for the grant this year, you'll get 40 grand, and then you have an additional 30 grand that you can be awarded in the second section.
Okay.
And the per capita grant money comes in every year. That comes from the state every year. It's not one that we have to apply for. It just comes in there. We did have some grant opportunities. I'm talking with a couple people from that hospital meeting that we were at on figuring out some grant money that was not guaranteed yet or anything, obviously, but I am looking at those as well.
And then Trevor, we know that
The
we
hospital's also maybe not fully guaranteed.
No, it's not guaranteed for sure, but we do have, obviously, we have TRT money that this would apply for, right? And we know that we have additional funds sitting there that we could tap $30,000 to $40,000 very easily and not affect any of the other operations, and so.
Well, and that's, I need to have a discussion with Torres and make sure that they're just aware.
Sure.
I know we've had discussions with them just to say, hey, this is.
Yeah, I
mean, I think they've had maybe some discussions.
We have had the discussions, yeah, so there's an awareness there for sure. And again, I mean, the whole point of this was to not actually even additional burden the budget, right, because of the grant money and some of the other money that is available there. And so the numbers that we did run, we were trying to be very conscientious about not burdening the current budget if we could do so. You know, and the grant money and the TRT money, and I mean, we have funds available to do just the change currently, right? Now, standing up something, you know, we look at a different avenue, right? A different architecture, whether it's the sales tax thing, you know, but that's future down the road.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, this moves us down the road. It's been mentioned, but as the sheriff knows and Kim, we spent some time with the hospitals and they're kind of saying, well, we'll think about it. And
yeah, I mean, I'm confident
we'll keep thinking about it. And right. Besides what we've done here, there is some potential for some more resources that we haven't got. And I'm hopeful that sometime, it's just they're not right now. So that potential, if it comes through at any amount, because it's really zero right now.
Right.
So, you know, we haven't asked for, which was quite a bit, but if we get anything that's going to supplement what we're doing today and maybe more, that would be helpful. So I don't think we need to forget, hopefully we don't forget that and keep communicating with them. Yeah, we need a little help.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's a good path forward, so.
Well, hopefully soon we'll be getting in more money from the IPP renewed and ACES, and so that hopefully will make it so we can compensate the EMTs as much as they deserve. And if it doesn't, I'm definitely willing to do the tax where we increase the sales tax also. Because we've got to take care of these guys. They're doing a great job for us, and we need them.
So Bonnie, at this amount, if we approve this, will we have to open up the budget, or we've already budgeted the grants and that? Are we in a position we can just move forward?
Yeah, so the grants are already budgeted. So if you look at the revenue for the grants, it's $89,000. That was based on Kim's information that this $63,000 grant was coming in plus the other ones. So those are already offsetting the total budget. So to have a balanced budget, it's $972,000, right? And our expense is the same amount. So it's already included in the budget. So in theory, I don't know, you know, I don't know where you planned on spending that, but we could move from one line item to another for the grant. Right?
Okay.
So
without opening up the budget right now.
63,000, but the total ask is 100, right?
Yeah.
So you couldn't authorize it in full technically without a public hearing and amending the budget.
So the total ask, obviously, and that was the conversation back from just the budgeted versus the need. Right budget, and because we only budgeted $230,000 after we did all of the numbers, we feel like that budget was low based on the resource need that we actually needed. And I know that they did ask for over $300,000 at the beginning of budget last year. That was not approved, but I think that ask was because that was the resource need to fully staff, right? And then it was pared back to $230,000. So had they been approved on their total budget of the $300,000, that would have been the resource need to be fully staffed. So
and I just want to comment too. I mean, their expense usage as of today is 23% of their total expenditures. So they probably could handle it within their current budget.
Within the current budget, okay.
Right? So
yeah, because we're understaffed, right?
Yeah, so I mean, we would.
That could change, but maybe not, and if it changes, we'll have to open up the budget sometime, okay?
Yeah, so. And we are going to open it soon because we'll be taking on the senior center as a full-on department and 15 employees, so.
Okay. So do we need an approval to go forward? It's got on here approval, so.
Yeah.
Okay, I would move
Well, first I'd like to ask Cindy and Kim what they think about these numbers.
I think
this is kind of what we had talked about initially in October to try to bring forward was the changes. I know the shortcoming when we're talking to the EMTs is the transfers, kind of what we talked about. We're hoping that this will entice them to take transfers or be willing to cover transfers. I think we're moving in the right direction. I still think initially we're going to have to go to a full-time at some point, but I think this is great steps in the right direction. Also, one thing I didn't talk about, and we haven't really brought up, was moving to a paramedic system as well is going to bring in more revenue and can change some of those numbers as well. So that is something to look at in the future, is moving to paramedic level versus just advanced level.
How does paramedic bring in more revenue?
So paramedic, when you go to paramedic, you can charge $700 more per call. So if you're taking your, you can take your amount of run numbers and add that and times that by 700, that's going to be your additional revenue that we can bill out that would be coming back into you. Right now, through our billing agency, we're about 43, like she was saying, 43 to 47% in the money coming back that we bill out, which is pretty good.
So you can bill for that paramedic then?
Yeah, you can bill higher money for paramedics.
So that's just local runs, that's not counting transfers?
No, that's transfers,
okay.
You can bill that additional money on all of your calls. You can.
So local and transfers both?
Yes, that's correct.
Is there any, maybe a little off, we've talked about before, what's the potential of increasing the percent of revenues that we bill for? Pretty much we're stuck where we're at.
Certainly on the medical runs, those are all state set.
Yeah.
The transfers that's an insurance thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's where we fall short, is when there's an uninsured patient and they're discharged essentially kind of from a hospital, we become a taxi and we bear the burden of that resource, and then we don't get compensated for that. So there's still some fleshing out on some of this to do.
We don't have much wiggle room, do we, to really?
No, but I don't think we're done fleshing out options either, Commissioner. I'm with you. I think we just stay the course. We keep looking at some of these other places and
we need to
avenues.
If we can find a way, I have no sense.
Laws continue to change, so
we're coming through a lot of areas to try and find more grant funding and more federal, more state, like those funds we have one of the state representatives that's over just our area for EMS, and she's been sending, she's really searching out that same thing. So we're trying to find more grants that we can write and have money coming in that way without having to always rely on just that billing on.
Okay.
Well, I was hoping the state legislature would fund it more too, but they didn't come through.
$1 million out of it for the grant, that stuff too, so.
I'm putting Cindy in an awkward moment. You asked her opinion too, so.
Yeah. So I just was writing down numbers as I was able to hear them. My understanding is standby rate is not going to increase, instructor rate is not going to increase, local runs are only going to increase by $10 a run. And I would like to see a little more for all of those, because we have, we've been paying instructor pay and standby pay that rate for a few years now, and probably 5 at least. And
I think, Cindy, Jacob, would you answer a question? I think they all went up.
Yeah, it was 15, it went to 20, the instructor.
Instructor went up, okay.
From 15, and then we are doing a, on the runs,
I thought it was always $20.
$40, we're proposing $60.
Okay.
So it's a $20 increase.
Yeah. Because that's what I told everybody they were getting, because
For the runs.
that's what I was told.
Well, the information submitted
Yeah.
to us
Yeah.
said it was $15 an hour, so we
Yeah.
increased it to 20.
Okay.
But you were saying you'd like to see more on the runs?
Yeah, local runs. In the discussions that I've had with EMTs, there are those that just can't do transfers, but they're willing to be available for local runs. A lot of them are younger moms that are either having to get a babysitter when they go on a run or something like that. So I'd like to see just a little more for them, whether it's on the local run or whether it's the pager pay, to just kind of help them be more willing to sign up on the schedule. That's probably.
How long does a typical run take?
A local run? Yeah, I'd say
over an hour.
an hour to 2 hours, depending on where you're having to go. If you're having to go to Cove Fort, which is considered a local run, or if you're having to go to Oak City or even clear out to the border.
And those ones get the additional mileage per.
Yes,
so
they
that's
do.
added extra on those longer ones.
Yeah.
So it's not just a flat fee on that one.
Yeah, I think for West Side, I think everything, I'm not sure about Leamington, but I think everything else is considered local. So, you know, that stretches their time on the run just a little bit.
Dividing, you're looking at like $30 an hour basically is what they're getting if they on a call.
Yeah.
Pretty.
And Chair, you mentioned you wanted to perhaps visit with those that you've been visiting with. This might be predictive of what they might be saying.
Yeah, because some of the people I talked to, it seemed like the consensus was they felt like for the advance that they would like 75 on that, but I would like to talk to them again, and because they felt like 75 would encourage the regular EMTs to become advanced, and that would be nice, because it's nice if they can start IVs and give meds and stuff, so.
It helps us fill our schedule better too, because it's mandatory. We have to have an advanced on every crew. And sometimes we only have basics that are willing to sign up.
Yeah.
So being able to fill the schedule a little more is also good.
And they kind of seemed like it would entice younger people more if the pager rates went up, because instead of finding a part-time job, that this could kind of be like their part-time job, and so they could do this, and that way we'd get more EMTs.
I think historically, you know, as we've come out of those dynamics, and we visited about this at length, but I think that's exactly more of what it was years ago, right? Back before eggs weren't $5 a dozen. And so I think there's some balance that we're still trying to catch up with historically from how these positions were used domestically in the house. These were more part-time jobs as well as volunteer.
So anyway, I think this is a great start, but I just would like to talk to some of these that I've already talked to and get their opinions, and I definitely appreciate what you guys have told us
So
too.
are you talking to both sides, both stations?
I've only talked to one East Side person, because that's the only phone number I had, but I would love to talk to more of them, if I could get some more phone numbers, and maybe I can do that I'll do that this week, and I'll find out some more numbers, and maybe you can give me some also. But yeah, I think we definitely have to do something, and I think this is a great start, and I think we're probably pretty close to where we need to be. But anyway, appreciate it.
2025. 2025.
So that means that when you do that, what's
And I don't know if you guys would like to come back to our next meeting, and we can, it'd be nice to get this taken care of as soon as possible, so we can get the wages increased as soon as possible also.
We'll come back anytime, Commissioner.
I would like to do it at our next meeting and hopefully be able to finalize everything. I don't know if either of you have anything else to say or ask?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I don't have anything.
Okay, well, I appreciate it.
I was okay with accepting it as it is, and maybe going 65 per run on the intermediate.
So right now, at $60 per run at 758, which is the 3-year run average, that's $45,000. If we change that to 65, it goes up to $49,000. So, it's not a huge increase, so it's...
Well, I'm like Trevor, I like the numbers. If you want to tweak them a little bit, Commissioner Lyman says she wants more input. I don't know.
Because
I'm ready to do
I'm with
something.
everybody else. I think at some point we're gonna go full-time with more full-time, not everybody full-time, but I think we're getting there. We also have 2,000 strangers that are gonna be leaving over the next year and a couple months. Now, thinking the project's bringing back, I don't know, but if we go off of what we know now, we're gonna be losing out on quite a few people. So I don't want to do anything too drastic, and this 100% increase on the transfer seems worth experimenting. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, I don't know, but it seems like it's a significant jump.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we do 65,000 or $65 for the in-county runs, you're only increasing $4,000 on the total budget. So with that $5 increase, it's pretty insignificant.
Is it worth it maybe to even go 70? I'm just throwing some things out there, increase that, and encourage them to become, instead of a basic, become an intermediate. I don't know what your guys'
Yeah, I mean, if it sounds like if that's, if those are the main concerns, obviously, let's address the concerns, and again, I think that we're close enough to the budget, again, that if we put it up to 70, that increases it $9,000, puts us at a difference of $76,000, right, so we're just outside of the grant difference.
But we can make it work.
But we can make it work for sure, yeah, and obviously, right, if we're willing to talk about some of this capital funding, right, the appropriated funding that's for vehicles, ambulance probably would be the place, right? I mean, we certainly can find it in budget if we have to. If it's the right thing to do to make the operations going, we can get creative with that. Again, tourism, the TRT money obviously is there for us, right, that we can tap some of that, obviously not putting tourism out, because there's a lot of money there that could be used for this as well, and so I think we could make it work, for sure.
Because I'm just assuming, as is, you guys are comfortable with it, as it is, brought us anything today. Now,
well, we made every
more.
Sure. I mean, if money's going to incentivize, then money is an answer, and if you can find more money, then find more money. But we brought in a product of what we felt was kind of within the margin of available resource. If you have ways of feeding it more, and you're convinced that's going to incentivize those that would advance their certifications and sign up and so forth. I haven't been a part of a ton of those dialogues. There's been, like I say, there's been a lot of different chatting going on that I have not been in. So from those that I've talked to, I think this, for the most part, addresses it, but it sounds like there might be some fine-tuning to do.
Yeah, in all of the discussions that we've had, it's really the fact that a lot of them don't want to be gone from their homes for the amount of time it is for the transfers. And so doubling that, or increasing that, we're hoping that that's going to fix that problem. There's a lot of people that would run if they only had to do a local call, or they didn't have to do transports, or so in making that more money savvy for them, or what other word I'm trying to say, hopefully that's going to make them want to go and continue on those transports.
Well, in the other areas that I've spoken with, transfers has been the main problem. If people gone for so long for very little pay, it's not worth it. So
I wouldn't suggest delaying it forever, but I would admonish if there's still dialogues going out there that would dial this in to a better solution right now. So much work has gone into it. I'd hate to see a false start and have this not work to the maximum effect that it's supposed to have. So Commissioner Lyman, if you believe there are other people you need to discuss it with, I admonish that you do, and make sure that it's transparent and that everyone understands how much work's gone into this, what the limitations of the county is, and what expectations are. So part of that's further diagnostics for us and what we're going to have to deal with coming up.
Well, I just want to get this solved, and from the people I talk to, if there's enough incentive, I think we can get people to come back and make it so we can have people available all the time and not have to worry about people signing up to be on call. And I think this is a great start, but I would just like to talk to people a little more, and like Cindy mentioned, she thinks maybe we ought to increase some of these a little bit too. And from the people I talked to, we might need to make it happen.
So just so you know, I mean, the majority of runs Utah County at $180, that's about $36 an hour, right? It's a pretty good part-time job, you know, so I think, I think to Kim's point, it's compelling enough at this point, right, that it's like, hey, I could go to the res, or I could go make $36 an hour, and with the way that money is right now and inflation, $36 an hour for a run to Utah County and back for 5 hours is pretty compelling.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good
the
number.
transfers are probably pretty close.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit worried about the local runs and the pager time.
Yeah. I mean, the pager time, just be mindful that any increase in pager time is going to significantly increase the expense of
It's 24 hours
this.
a day,
Yeah.
so it's huge.
Yep. So, but the run, I mean, even if we did another $10 an hour up to $70 an hour per run, it's only a $9,000 increase on the total yearly expense.
And based off of averages, that's $35 to $40 an hour.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's significant, right? I mean, you're making $40+ an hour if
But
it's an
they're
hour
also
and
willing
$2
to be
run.
on call, so that's worth something
So maybe
too.
it should be on the on-call pay, because that's the most hours that they spend is in the on-call pay.
Yeah.
Not on the actual runs. I think the run pay, I mean, if you look at comparative to any other county on run pay, we're well above like that. I wonder if we should look more in the on-call time.
So that was the original conversation that we'd had, Kim?
I don't know.
You know? And I thought, that was my thought too, is that, hey, let's increase on-call time because you're doing, you know, runs are part of that, right? But the narrative coming back has been actually, we're just at home doing whatever at that time, right? But when we're gone away from our homes and families is when we want it to be more compelling. And so, because originally we went into this thinking that the on-call pay should be increased, which was going to be a significant burden on the budget, right? But after the narrative, the people that you talked to and some of the other narratives that came back, it was, well, it's actually time away from home, away from our families, that we would like to be more compensated for. And so that's why we did the transfer increase versus the on-call. But that was my thought too, Kim.
I think to move forward, I mean, I think you've discussed a tweak to, which isn't going to be a budget buster.
No.
And so I'm comfortable with the statistics we got. If we want to change the on-call, the local, then I would suggest we just go ahead and do it. If we're going to come back and start changing the whole dynamics in a different budget, we're going to have another different problem.
Yeah.
Because we've decided we can do this in the budget, we can go ahead forward. We come back next week and start throwing a whole bunch of different stuff in there, then we're going to have to go back and see where we're getting the money from in the budget. So
sure.
I would suggest we go forward. I'm comfortable to adopt this up. What do you want, to 65 to, what was the fee? Adopt that? Yeah, do 70 or whatever you want to do and just move forward, so.
I think if we increase the local runs by a little bit more, that we might not have to increase the pager by that
so
much
if
more.
you go to $70,
we just do the local runs. That's what Cindy suggested.
Yeah, you're at $40 an hour, right? If you go to $70 a local run, and it's a 2-hour average, right? Hour and a half average. I mean, you're $35, $40, $45 an hour, depending on 1 to 2 hours.
And
so
I think that might be
money.
enticing to them.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
So-
I like where it is. I don't think it's probably necessarily right.
Sure, and we don't know right yet.
In a year,
Yeah, let's try it for 6 months and see what it looks like,
but to say, well, let's come back next week and add 5 cents or down, because 5 cents on that hourly rate, on the,
Yeah, on the on-call rate,
So
right?
whatever you like,
is a lot of money.
where we're at with the increase to the local runs or without the increase to the
I like.
We did 11 cents.
Okay, that's what.
Yeah, so
If
just to be
where
clear,
we're
we
at
did
now,
increase
but-
pager pay from what it currently is, up 6%, so we did 11 cents on that, right? And so it's not that we didn't increase it, we did increase it some, it just wasn't the bulk of the increase, so just to be clear on
Bulk
that.
of the increase came with the transfers, there is an increase on the on-call rate.
Uh-huh,
So you support where we're at if we just increase the local runs?
yeah, and let's do it to 70.
On the, and I mean, because I would like to, we need to encourage people
To get up to the advanced,
Incentivize growth.
yeah,
yeah.
more skill set, upskill set, right? Yeah, so,
Well, I would make that motion unless, if Commissioner Lyman has some information to bring back to us next time, but I would make the motion we increase the local runs and with the rest of the plan that we have in place.
Okay.
Well, the other thing with that though is we need to make sure that we are paying for their career advancement, whatever the cost is. And I know they've got a guarantee to work for a certain amount of time, or whatever you do. If they're going to increase their knowledge and skill base, it needs to be funded and paid for.
So anybody that's in and currently a part of EMS, if they go up a level, it's all covered. There's no cost to them. They have to pay for their, like, the actual testing fee, but once they pass it, then they just turn that in and we reimburse that. So any level advancements within the agency is covered.
Okay.
Good to clarify here, though.
Yeah, because I've been confused on.
The only time that it's not is if they're a new person coming in that's not already employed.
But they do get refunded.
But they will get, yeah, they get fully refunded after a year, yeah.
So Jacob,
Yeah.
were you increasing both just the EMT and the advanced EMT for local runs? Or
Yeah.
just the advanced?
So we did, I did the budgets just based on the advanced because it was going to be the high end of the budget, right? So yeah, I mean, we can increase whatever percentage we want to do there, we can increase that the same. We did all the numbers were off of the advanced only because it's hard to budget, right? I mean, do we have 3 advanced people on there or do we have 3 basic people on there? If we have 3 basic people on there and we budget for the basics, then when we have 3 advanced people on there, the majority of the time we're going to be way over budget.
But I mean, if we do this increase that we just were talking about, were you going to increase both of them?
Yeah, it'll be this.
We were just going to increase the
Just
advance.
advanced so that they want to go from basic to advanced. So
So-
it's going up $10.
So the regular would stay at 50?
So it was at 40 and going to 50, at 50, yeah.
And
So-
then if we tweak it again, the advanced would go to 70?
Yeah.
But the regular would stay at 50?
That's what I would recommend, just to encourage them to want to move, yeah. Yeah,
That's a good incentive.
yeah. So, but we will increase it from 40 to 50, and then for the EMTs, for the basic EMTs, yeah.
So Cindy, do you think that's enough to entice them?
I do.
For now.
For now.
Until inflation continues.
Till another 18% inflation.
But you're still a little bit worried about the pager time, aren't you?
I think with the increase in the transfer pay and the run pay and a little bit of increase in the pager pay, I think this will be a good start.
Okay.
You made that motion, right, Bill?
I made a motion, yeah.
Okay, for the $70 to the room?
Yep.
I'm not
Plus
second
all
that.
that's the only change from what Jacob presented.
Yep. I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the EMT volunteer program as we've talked about today. All of those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we'll go with that, and if we need to tweak it later on in the future, I guess we will. But
So that goes into effect when, you know?
how soon can we get this into
It
effect?
wasn't done by resolution, I think it has to be done.
Oh, so we've got to, so we have to wait till next
So
time?
this gives Pat the authority to write the resolution then, okay?
Okay, sounds good. Okay, thank you for your input, thank you for your time and willingness to be EMTs. Okay, the next agenda item will be to discuss the possible approval of the sole source procurement from Axon and allocation of future funds for the Sheriff's Office for Taser 10 contract. So just sit there and tell us.
So this is the same as what we've been presented. I've sent the email. Everybody's seen all the documentation on that. Again, this is for the Taser 10. It is a new platform. Our current platform is out of warranty, out of date, and end of life. If we have any that break, Axon will not service them. We just have to buy a new platform. We're starting to have failures on those, which unfortunately may open us up to some liability if we have an incident where one of those fails and somebody gets injured. You know, we want to avoid all that. We want to provide our people with the best tools. And by all accounts, the TASER 10 is proving to be a very effective device as far as bringing subjects under control and de-escalation. And so ProForce has the state contract for TASER 7s and the X26Ps. They do not have the state contract for TASER 10, and I think I've sent that. I've sent their state contract to your emails. So Axon currently is the only one that provides the TASER 10. That's why I request the sole source procurement from them. I know part of the discussion has been whether or not we go with the pay each year or just pay all up front, and so that's a financial discussion, but I would like to get at least the sole source approval from the commission for Axon for the TASER 10.
You want to approve that and then just have discussions on how to pay for it later, or?
Well, you could do. I mean, I'll tell you where I'm at. You know, and I've talked to people, you know, I was uncomfortable with the sole source in the beginning and the price, and we did enough due diligence that where we're going to get. I don't think no more discussions going to help us say more. So I would consider, and I don't know if you want a motion to approve the sole source. My recommendation for budgets that we go ahead and pay for that. We have some money in COVID money, some one-time money. My suggestion would be that we go ahead and pay the amount. What is it, 300 and something thousand?
So the total amount is $236,977.
$236,000, and we take that out of our that COVID money that needs to be spent. I think there's that much in there, isn't there, Bonnie?
Well, it's appropriated otherwise, so you would need to let them know.
So do we need to change that, or, I mean, okay. My recommendation would mean that we change that and pay for the tasers.
So I think right now it's coming from an ambulance is what it's appropriated for. I think we have $250,000 that is appropriated for that. And
that puts us in a pickle. Because
an ambulance is 70,000 miles. So you're going to be coming up here soon and looking at needing a new one there. You're already 3 years out on the purchase of a new ambulance.
yeah,
So that's going to put you further out and even being able to replace that ambulance.
yeah.
So I would move to regroup so we could maybe attack this at my table again, but you know, we've extended the overall cost of the TASER by $20,000 or so by our time, and I think it has, this quote actually has a deadline too, does it not?
May 31st is an expiration.
I hate to give them a chance to increase their price.
So let me ask a question. To my knowledge, the price is less now than when we started. How did we extend that? I think they lowered it about $6,000 or $7,000.
No, I think actually, Commissioner, it's $20,000 more now.
It was, at the end of last year, it was $20,000.
Okay.
We weren't able to move on it, so like I say, I don't want to miss another deadline, but the ambulances, and part of the ambulance discussion is really talking about 2 light ambulances versus 1, right? And I'd really like to get into that discussion. I think that further solves some of our issues with our costs, and in something that's fairly nebulous right now, so I can't give you definitive measures on it, but what if we had to start using ambulances, or what if we chose to use ambulances in the future for a good majority of our mental transports, like other places are doing, and thereby able to collect money from insurance companies and bring money back to the county. Right now, the sheriff's office does that, and that's tax money right out the exhaust pipe. We get nothing back. And to run a full rig on all of these additional runs is extra wear and tear on the full rig. So there's there's a number of reasons to discuss the light ambulances, I think. It's hard to sacrifice an ambulance, as the director pointed out. Currently, we're on the wear and tear unless there's a way to say, you know, we're going to get really further ahead on the discussion on light ambulances, and if there's a way to come up with those within the next year or two, particularly the next year, but it's going to be about the same amount. We figure roughly we could probably do 2 for 1, right? 2 light ambulances for 1 full rig. Those would be my concerns.
I think we need to get into that discussion. I'm thinking as we conclude this EMT discussion and kind of see where we're at, but I think we need to look at what we have. I would like us, how many ambulances do we need? I mean, we're buying new ones. We need to decide what we really need and what our needs are, and then I can make a decision what to do. I mean, we got 11, we need 12 or 13, I don't know. We've never did an appraisal on our ambulances and see which ones work and don't work, what we can use for one and what the other. And I'm going to be in a better position to make that decision when I get that information.
Understood.
And I don't have it right now. I don't.
Well,
I'm not ready to do an ambulance till I get that information. How many do we need? Where do they need to be? What is satisfactory? What is our most need? And then we make a decision of what your suggestion of using different types of vehicles or ambulances is excellent. I think it is saves us considerable amount of equity to use it, to not put the equipment in there that's not necessary. We know that saves us a lot of money, but we aren't quite to that point right now. So just to say we're going to do another ambulance, what we've done, I'm not ready to go there. I want to evaluate where we're at and what we need.
So I submitted a structure of that in an email in March, Commissioner, answering the number of ambulances per shed, and that included the notion of perhaps a light ambulance being a 4th at both of our main sheds, and also staffing an ambulance.
So how many did you suggest in that?
So that's 3, 3, and 1 at least,
okay,
full rigs.
We need 7 ambulances.
Full rigs.
Okay.
That's the one.
That's the one. Well, no, because we have the backup.
It's not the backup, so there'll be light ambulances at both of the main sheds.
And that's,
so
the sheriff's office could come and use that as needed for mental health patients.
If we go there.
Or does the EMT start to?
The EMTs do, but so we've got to.
Some of your guys.
we've got to solve the staffing thing first, right? Because if that's not going to work anymore, and it's really working for us to try and call out overtime deputies to make these transfers.
Yeah, if we can get enough EMTs that we could do transfers, medical transfers with the EMTs, that'd be awesome.
That'd bring more revenue.
And it'd bring more money to the EMTs.
So, I'm going to tell you my thoughts.
Sure.
And what I would like to do. Because I would like to get your tasers with the ARPA money, with intentions to consider looking into transfer type ambulances. And if we need them, then we go ahead and get them. That's, if we need, I want to get something if we need it. Now 70,000 miles does not seem like very many miles to me on a vehicle. I feel like I could put a teenager in a vehicle for 70,000 miles and it might be tore up, but we got adults driving these ambulances. 70,000 miles does not seem
I think what
like a lot we should be turning
So my
over.
point is that you're going to get 120, 130,000 miles, which is what they recommend you rotate ambulances at. I'm not saying that, I'm not worried about the 70,000 now.
Yeah.
I'm talking about in a year, that's our transport ambulance, you're going to put it at 120,000 miles. And you're going to be putting it.
So we're putting 50,000 miles on them in a year?
If
So we're going from 70 to...
Transfers at the rate that we're doing now.
We're going
yeah.
from 70 to 120 pretty fast. How long have we had it?
How long have we had that one? I'd have to go back and look on the paper.
Sorry, I should know that off the top of my head.
Well,
I'll think about it for a second.
Okay, so that's just, let's go ahead and get these paid for. and this is me, Pat, you give them till May 31st, call and say, hey, $230,000 of checks coming your way tomorrow, if you'll pay for them. If they call our bluff, May 31st, say, okay, fine, we'll get it for the $236,000. We pay for it out of the ARPA money, and we can continue to figure out what we need on an ambulance standpoint, and that gives us time to do it right, not just, well, we got at the end of the year, let's hurry and spend some money.
Well, we do have the option. We have in our budget this year, we planned $50,000 to start this program. It can be paid off in full at any time. So if we approve to start this and just approve with the allocation of future funds with the option to have a discussion of payment in full in the future as well, should that provide, then that gives us a little bit of a buffer to start the program, but then also have these further discussions on where do we use the funds? Do we need it for an ambulance, or can we allocate other things like that? Yeah. I mean, that option's on the table as well.
Yeah. Well, because if we take that $50,000 plus the $14,000, I don't know how much a transfer van would cost, and I think the one thing that I feel like we need to somewhat kind of get over in this instance is we don't need one for both sheds right away. If we get one for Delta or we get one for Fillmore, great, and then the next year we get one. Now I know maybe you can get them both cheaper if you get them at the same time, but if we take that $50,000 plus, that gives you $64,000 to put towards a transfer van. Now I'm sure they're more in the $100,000 range, but so those are my thoughts. That's kind of what
I agree. I think we're ready to make a decision on the tasers and go forward, and I agree with Pam. I'm not sure we're ready to make a decision on what our needs are exactly for ambulance today. Now, we should be in the near future. I think that at least me, and I don't know, Commissioner Johnson maybe too, is committed that we need to look at that and see what we need, and then when we find out what we need, move forward with what we need. Get rid of what we don't need is always helpful for me, because we're paying insurance on them. They're costing us whether we use them or not. They aren't free. Let's get rid of them. Let's get our fleet where we need to be. Let's get a balance of what we need for transfer and what we need for the others, and then we can make if we have that information, we can make a decision better, since we don't have that information. So what are we going to buy? Are we going to buy a transfer? Are we going to buy an ambulance? Or what? So that helps us be able to make decisions that are more productive in the future, that we don't end up with more, and so what are we going to do with them? So I'm following Trevor's, I agree with him. I think I'm ready to do the tasers, and then let's get some information we need. Let's look into the program we have in ambulances, and then decide which direction we need to go and start building on that.
How much do we typically sell an old ambulance for? Obviously, it doesn't happen very often, but.
It depends. We were lucky on the last one to get a pretty good deal on it, because I think we bought it, but you're looking at, I don't know.
Certainly have value, and one of them that we've held was to be considered as a trade-in should we have moved on a full rig, right? So the three full-rig ambulances and a light ambulance, that's for the shed in Fillmore and the one in Delta, and a full-rig ambulance in Estill, Commissioner. That's the fleet. Ideally, as we work towards that's the fleet.
So 3 regular and 1 transfer in each one. So you're talking about 8, okay?
9.
9 with Estill.
Okay.
So Jacob, you act like you have something to say.
Well, I was just going to say about the tasers, right? I mean, we all know how business works, right? If we went to them with their original offer to us and a cash check saying, we've got approved for this, red tape's done, I can buy this today, but I need the original price, I assume they'll probably go for that, right? And if we want to write that check out and say, yeah, I know it went up $20,000, they wouldn't approve that, but I can buy those today for this price. I mean, most likely they're going to jump on that, right?
We have needs for taser and ambulance. You folks decide how you want to fund them.
Yeah.
And I'm committed to figuring out how to fund an ambulance. Let's figure it out. But right now, our upfront expenses, the tasers is the one we're going with first. So that's why I say let's just take the ARPA money and
Jacob, I think, pardon, I didn't mean to step on you, Commissioner.
Good, sure.
I think there's been a dialogue between the captain and taser. Is there a discount for just paying, here's your check? And it's the same either way.
Yeah, which is interesting, right? Because obviously they're building it in somewhere.
If you want to take a shot, take a shot.
No, and I totally agree but we all know, right, that if I offer you a $30,000 check, or a $230,000 check today, or we're going to continue to kick this down the road, most businesses are going to say, okay, I'll take it, right?
I did talk $4,000 off from there, because they had increased it from the last quote they gave me in January.
Yeah.
Another $4,000, they were willing to honor
The one before?
The one before, so.
Yeah.
So it did kick $4,000 more off.
Gotcha.
That's what I say, try and play games with them until the end of the month, but that's how I say we pay for them. That's, if I make a motion, that's what I'm making
Is
a
that a
motion.
motion, or do you want me to make it?
Well, first we've got to approve sole source.
Okay. I would make a motion that we approve sole source for the tasers.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to approve sole source by, for Axon for tasers. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're good there. So now we just got to figure out how we're going to pay for it. Sounds like you guys just
Well, what are
want
your thoughts,
to.
Vicki? You've been talking pretty loud.
I think we do need to make sure we get this ambulance situation taken care of soon. I'm willing to see if we can get a good deal, a better deal, just by having Jacob talk to him and say, hey, we'll give you this much for the whole lot of them, and see if they'll give us an even better deal. I don't know if they will, but we still need to get this ambulance situation taken care of soon, I think.
Are you comfortable with that, Sheriff?
You folks decide how to fund it.
Well, I'm trying
Statutes, look, I'm going to lean back to the simplicity of the statute. I tell you what I need, you folks fund it.
Okay.
And I know because of our civility, we walk around apologies and things. No, you don't need to apologize, you've got a job to do, so.
Well, I haven't apologized today,
So.
So my question is, do we need another or two? I don't know how your rotation has been working in the past on ambulances.
Well, your predecessor set the pace there, Commissioner. They committed the county to every other year an ambulance.
Okay.
Right? So as new commissioners come in, they agree or they disagree with that. But for years, it's operated that way insofar as funding was feasible, and insofar as COVID wasn't a part of the planet.
No.
So one of the real things that hangs with us right now is this, that we're still on a 3-year wait. So even if we bought a full rig ambulance, it could be up to 3 years before it's delivered to us.
What have we got the last 3 years? Is it 3 or 4 or 2 or 3? Yeah.
I think it's 2 ambulances.
We did 2 ambulances in the last couple of years. In the last 2 years? Okay. You'll have to remind me. I can't keep track.
4 since 2020, I think, because we got.
So Bonnie, do you know how many we did?
There was 4 ambulances.
4 ambulances in the last 3 years? Okay.
Mostly that was because we were trying to play catch-up. Yeah, we were.
Yeah, we missed some of your predecessors every other year.
So we have caught up. We have caught up.
Yeah.
Because of the money that was given, we put it all back in there, the COVID money, ARPA funds.
So what you would like is, instead of getting, for this next ambulance, instead of getting just one regular ambulance, to get 2 transfer ones instead? Is that kind of what?
I think it makes sense. I think it prolongs the life of the full rigs. I think we put the wear and tear on less expensive vehicles. I think they're more nimble on these transfer runs on the interstate. They're gas-powered, not diesel. We're not faced with the diesel costly repairs.
Can we buy 2 for 1?
We don't have solid numbers yet.
Of course,
That's,
I mean,
I can check on that, the bids that we have that are open bids that were for rates.
Okay.
we're going to go to work on that as soon as we walk out those doors. We'll work some numbers so that you're educated on it, but we think roughly that's the formula.
All right.
Well, the other thing that we have going on right now too is the ARPA money does have to be spent this year.
Yeah, it does.
If there's other projects that don't spend their money or we decide maybe aren't necessarily needed at this point in time, they could go towards the ambulances.
Well, the only difference with what we propose, you don't have a guarantee. The money's got to be spent, we spend on them.
Yeah.
I think we got enough commitments and concern. We want to change the vehicles we have. We want to get the transfer vehicles, and so we have a lot of interest in going forward and being able to adjust that fleet to something that's more productive for us and least expensive.
Bonnie,
and
would
be
you?
able to do the same thing.
Yeah, I just wanted to go over the fund balance for ambulance, because I want to kind of give a history of how much it's improved with the CARES and the ARPA funding that has been purchasing that equipment. So the fund balance at the end of the year was $118,000 in 2019. The fund balance at the end of 2023 was $1,015,000. So, I mean, that just kind of goes to show how much impact it has had on the fund balance, and that's the end of the year. So when I say fund balance, but everyone needs to remember, that fund balance covers the current budget plus the income that you have coming in too, right? That we anticipate coming in, so.
So you think that we can find the money to pay for the ambulance plus the tasers?
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing that's hard, though, is the COVID money was one time, and we're not gonna get it the next 4 to 8 to 12
No.
years unless something else happens.
But we're going to be getting centrally assessed money that we haven't been getting.
Well, I know, but that typically hasn't gone to.
Well, I don't know whether you want to throw this in right now, but our century assessed money will increase almost nothing, because right now, the figures we got right now, the CWIP is only increased at the same rate as the depreciation of the plant, and it's about a 0.
Yeah, but once
Look at that.
the new plant comes online, that'll go
Well,
up, along with ACES.
Well, the new plant comes along is going to be, part of the assessment on the new plant is going to be where CWIP is already capturing that. So I don't know what that might be, but we all anticipated some CWIP money this year. That anticipation will be very little, because the depreciation on the plant, even this year, went down to 95% depreciated, and we lost about 70% of what the value was last year, if you understand, on the plant. And that IPP's amazing. We got other century assessed properties. But the CWIP didn't amount to only a little bit more than the depreciation. So the net effect is pretty much close to nothing. So, we're not going to have a lot.
But the construction was less than 50%, so on that CWIP's less than 50% of what it will be.
It might be, and all you're capturing is the cost of what they've put in. That's the cost of what it was in the end of December as well. But there's not going to be a lot of that money there. As you've seen Bonnie's report today, the best outlook we have right now is sales tax and those local taxes, and so that has gone up significantly. We got a lot of extra people in here. I don't know whether they're spending their money here. That might go south when they all leave. Sheriff's shaking his head. I don't know.
Well, Bonnie seems to think that there's enough in our budget right now that we can cover both.
Not in budget, so you'd have to amend the budget, but it's in fund balance.
Okay, in fund balance.
So, yeah.
But I think you all know my feeling, and we need to do what we need to do, but this is a little, I'm just going to give my pet peeve, I guess. This is a little sidebar with COVID money and other money. We buy something, and we don't get that money to replace it, and in 2 or 3 years, all of us is going to have an expectancy to replace that with tax dollars. We didn't buy it with tax dollars, but everything we build, we're going to have to take care of tax dollars. And so all I'm saying is we need to look forward, we need to be cautious of what we do, because everything we put in there, the ARPA money's been really kind. We bought 3 or 4 ambulances, and I don't know, maybe some of them originally we put some of our own money, but it's paid for them. When that ambulance wears out, I don't know, maybe we're going to have a bird flu now or something, Captain. Maybe we'll have bird flu money. My anticipation is we won't have COVID or bird flu money, And so when that ambulance goes out the door, everybody's going to have an expectation. We had it, and we need to keep it. It was the county's, and we need to maintain it. We're going to have to go back to the tax dollars. That's what makes it difficult. So I don't know how to plan for all that, but I'm just saying, you know, we need to be cautious what we do, because that's what's going to happen. And it's not happened today, but that is what's going to happen unless we start getting bird flu money.
I guess I just have the optimistic attitude that these companies are going to be worth more than you think they're going to be worth.
But anyway, just a sidebar.
Please knock on wood so we don't get the bird flu.
Yeah, I guess we'd rather not have the bird flu. I agree. I'm not sure what good come out of that COVID thing. I mean, they threw a bunch of resources at us, but in total, I'm not. I mean, there's lots of other things that I think we see as a country that wasn't a positive. It led us into the economic situation we are now, possibly. I don't know, which is not good. You know, 3 or 4 years ago was a lot better. And this is what's causing, our county has not responded fast enough in employees' wages and EMT and everything to keep up with the spiraling inflation. I mean, I don't know how we anticipate that. I'm not an economist, and so we haven't been ahead of it. And it's causing us some problems and some slow responses. I think the last 6 months and year, we've recognized it, and we've got some good programs. I think our HR's in good shape, and we recognize and getting plans to take care of that in the future. Maybe it taught us a lesson, I don't know, but we are responding. It isn't like we put our head in the sand. We haven't been in front of it, we've been behind it, and I would admit that.
So do both of you want Jacob to talk to Axon, whatever the company is? I think that's it.
Yes.
I'm fine.
And see if what.
I've got contact with Axon.
Okay, so you're going to try to make a real sweet deal and see what we can get.
That's Pat.
And so then you guys want that to come out of ARPA and just to pay the whole thing off right now?
I would make that motion, or as Trevor made it and suggest that, yes.
Did you make the motion, or am I seconding it?
Okay, I will make the motion that we buy the tasers, and that comes out of our ARPA money.
Did we approve the sole source?
Yeah, we did.
Approve the sole source.
I second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to use ARPA money to pay for the tasers and get all of them now. All of those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Let's look into the ambulances, see if we can extend their life in any way, shape, or form, and I know the transfer thing.
Certainly part of the strategy for the light ambulances is to preserve those heavy, expensive rigs.
Yeah, and then get prices on transfer ones, and we'll see if we can come up with some funding for those.
To change those transfer ones is an excellent idea. I mean, I don't know where we've been the last 5 years.
We've got another meeting in 15 minutes, so let's wrap this.
Okay, okay, thanks you guys. Guess we'll leave it there for now, and you guys can get us some numbers, and appreciate all you do. Okay, next item is public input. Do we have any public input? Okay, other business. I know that Commissioner Wright's got some predator control.
I'm going to put on contracts, so no other business. I'll do it at contracts.
Okay, moving on. Discussion and possible appointments to various county boards. I'm pretty sure we've got some of that.
Yeah, so the Deseret Oasis Special Service District has recommended Brandon Bishop be their newest member, appointed today for their position.
Okay, and we need to improve that. That's all we need to do, right?
I move we approve Brandon.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve Brandon Bishop for the Deseret Oasis Special Services District. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're good there.
And then on the Millard Care and Rehabilitation Board, the board, correct me if I'm wrong, has
Okay. I can't correct you. You know that. Go ahead.
to reappoint Nick Kilpack and Bonnie Shamel, and then to appoint Joanne Campbell.
Joanne Campbell.
They had their meeting last week, and these three have previously served, but theirs says they're ready to get off. They'll serve one more term, and we had some interest by one individual, but the board, this is the trouble with these boards. This board are different. They recommend their own people, and then all we do is you say yea or nay. So I would make the motion that we approve those three people that they recommended.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to reappoint Nick Kilpack, Bonnie Shammo, and Joanne Campbell to the Millard County Care and Rehab Board. All those in favor, say aye.
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 And then moving back to that, there was one interested person outside of the current seat holders that Commissioner Wright said that he would contact and inform the board's decision.
And they had that other person's name for their considerations. Yeah, the board did. I will let him know, yeah.
Okay, is that it for county boards? All right, possible approval of applications for settlement or deferral of delinquent property tax? No? Okay, discussion by each commissioner, county attorney, elected official, and secretary. Nothing?
I can't discuss stuff, but we're running out of time, so I'll say that.
Okay. Next, possible Board of Equalization, discussion and/or action? No. Okay. Possible review of county policies and contracts?
I have a contract. This is a contract that we've had for years and years. I'm going to read just so we get it right, so you understand. Thank you for contract allowing the Department of Agriculture and Food to match up to 50% of the county contract amount for predator management in Millard County. This goes for predator management for wildlife, or not wildlife, but predators, mostly sheep on the West Desert and that. Millard County will participate in the Predator Damage Control Fund, PDCF, program at the rate of $54,000 annually. UDAF will reimburse the county 50% of the request, not to exceed the total annual contract portion of $2,700. The funds provided by the producers and county will be deposited in the PDCF account. They will be allocated and used within Millard County and will be administered by the UDAF for aerial predator management. The check should be made out to PDCF and sent to, and it has the address here. That's where that goes from. I would move that we approve the contract.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second to approve the predator control contract. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Possible closed meeting, I guess since the attorney isn't here, we don't have to worry about that. All righty, I would entertain a motion to close this meeting.
I make a motion to close the meeting.
I second it.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thanks for coming. Have a great day.
Do you have a contract for that? Okay.
And we do have a department head